We'll do the same prayers as yesterday. Guru, founder, Bhagavan, Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, perfect in knowledge and good conduct, Sugar to know of the world, supreme guide, beings redeemed, you, glorious Shakyam. I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. Guru, founder, Bhagavan, Arhat, perfect completed Buddha, perfect in conduct, Sugar to know of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans. To you, Buddha Bhagavan, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. Guru, founder, Bhagavan, Arhat, perfectly completed Buddha, Sugata, know of the world, supreme guide of beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans. To you, Buddha Bhagavan, glorious conqueror Shakyamuni, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme amongst humans, you were born in us, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you, who are wise, then, I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom ocean like a golden mountain, fame that blazes in the 3 worlds. Winner of you, I prostrate. With supreme science, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Dust feet like you, the 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Saviour having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean. To you, the one gone to thusness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the the sublime pure reality, the Dharma pacifies, I prostrate. Those who liberate and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts, to you, the sublime community intended. Do not commit any unwholesome actions. Engage in perfect, wholesome actions. Subdue your own mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, defective, you a flame, and illude you a bubble, a dream, a flash of positive phenomena as such. Through these merits may all sentient beings attain the rank of all-seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the death. I prostrate to the eye triple gem. Oh, thus did I hear one time the Bhagavan was dwelling on massive vulture's mountain in Raja, together with a great community of monks and a great community. Bodhisattvas at that time the Bhagavan was concentration on the categories of phenomena, profound perception as a time the Bodhisattva Mahasava Arya Avalokiteshvara looked upon the very practice of the profound perfection and beheld those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent need. Then through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to Bodhisattva Mahasava Arya Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage the profound perfection of wisdom. He said that and the Bodhisattva Mahasat Arya Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra, any son of the lineage or daughter of the lineage who wishes to practice activity of the profound perfection of wisdom should look upon it like this correctly and repeatedly, beholding those five empty of inherent nature. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form, form is also not other than empty. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, composition of factor, consciousness are empty. Shariputra, phenomena are empty. Without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not diff, not fulfilled. Shariputra, therefore in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composition of factors, no conscious, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visual, no sound, no odor, no taste, no object of touch. There is no I element and so on up to and including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There is no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance and so up to and including no aging and death and no extinction. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There is no exalted attainment, no non-attainment. Shariputra, therefore, because there is no attainment, Bodhisattva rely on and dwell in the perfection of wisdom, the mind with obscuration and without having completely passed beyond error, they reach the embodied of love. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times also can be awakened to unfull, perfect, complete enlightenment in reliance, perfection of wisdom. Therefore, the mantra of the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the mantra equal to the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as truth, since it is not. The mantra of the perfection is declared Dhayata Kati Kati Para Sangati Bodhi Sohai Shariput. The Bodhisattva Mahasava should train in profound perfection of wisdom life. Then the Bhagavan arose from the concentration and commend Bodhisattva Mahasattva Arya Avalokiteshvara say, well said, it is like that, it is like one should practice the profound perfection of just as you have indicated, even the Tathagatas, the Bhagavan having thus spoken, the Venerable Sharitadiput Bodhisattva, Mahasattva, Arya, Avalokiteshvara, and those surrounding in their entirety, along with the worlds of gods, humans, asuras, and Gandharvas, overjoyed and highly praised as spoken by the Bhagavan.
Oh, yeah. Deputy Parachi Sharon. Oh, good evening, everybody. That and the Sharon Yubualia, Dojuchi Chidwan. That Nangoyagi Kabaske Mebre, Doju Majenalia Chopchi Imbre. That Doju Majev and the Kangorum Sunju Nant in the Kadula, Doju di Nangamindu. And Samadan Sajevi, Jumdendegi Sumbalong over 30. Tatine Shologa Nindungore. That Shologa Nidi 강기 된지 저와 중 생기지 아니 인도 시와 촌은 군신이 생기지 원도 gengi 최저 대단 강기 된지 저와 중 가와메 깨면 최저 어디니니 숨기요래 다 디니니라 고름기 나지 고름기 개발 간대지레스 라바이나 남유 말한 속이 짬 짬 디인자 아니 사멜럼지름 바티 아니 기대진 저와 중사기 어디 토네 아니 삼다진유 야체월람지름 베토리아 삼다 사멜럼지름 베토 삼다 다오나 야체월람지름 게 가르치 중벌했으나 딱배 윤 아니 손대 남쪽 건제도와 마와 담에 렌조 샤제도 계획 캐로군도 잠베 사멘테스 판조르루스였으네 아니 사무다 유대 니버들이야 또 자네 피기도와 어떤데 그러면 원치는 힘다 삼르지
And the shipney turns on and it also did.
라다메다 하마이 지사제 비대이란데 좀 된데기 송벌 공부를 때도 스탄다가 좀 되버 애널 람사 니도 시바 촌놈스
The just under the top but yeah did the more said
어디도 좀 먹어야지
so 디난신데 제하러 왔다는
디난신제다 사이나인 도스전데 디 캐난소 디 dombe korim diji ngebe ina maungbalya ine dharamsala inare dojde inare kawala jawrum je sumje da di kaptelya domba changma nyamyo yo ba chaje lelab yongre sangdo
so we're going to change the procedure for the proceeding the Heart Sutra, where you all the Buddhas and so forth of the 10 directions, and then you recite the first verse, the Mula Madhyamaka Karika, the root verses by Nagarjuna, Kangitenjin Dawajung. So that which is called the verse of the expression of praise, so the expression of praise. Then after that one verse, then another verse which is the first verse, the verse of worship that opens the Abhisamayalankara by Maitreya. And so that one would be second, Nyantashiva Sunam. Then thirdly, Tobitawan Namsashing, which is the one verse, which is the first verse of the Pramanavartika by Dharmakirti. So that order of doing of reciting those three verses would be a reflection of the order in which they were composed. Because first of all, Nagarjuna came into the world and he composed his treatises. He composed that text, the Mula Madhyamaka Karika. Then after him, a Sangha came into the world, and so it was through him that the Abhisamayalankara came into the world. Then after him, later on, you had Dharmakirti, who was the one who composed the Brahma. So so there is that custom. However, that's not quite the custom of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and we want to follow the custom of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. So how His Holiness the Dalai Lama does it is after the Heart Sutra, then he recites the verse Malankara, the Nyantashiva Sunam, and the first verse, the verse of worship of the Mula Madhyamaka Karika, which is the Kangitensi Dawajung, which talks about the freedom from the 8 extremes, no coming, no going, and so on. And so now reciting those two verses in that order is not a reflection of the order in which they sort of came into the world, they were composed or anything like that. Rather, it seems to me that the order is to, let's say, match with the order of the in which the requests are made in Jeremje Lama Tsongkhapa's what we call the Koji. So it's like the request to the lineage gurus of the stages of the path, which open the door to the stages of the path. So if you look at that, then those requests, then you'll see that first of all, Jiramochi composed the verses of request to the lamas of the vast, the stages of the path of the vast side, and so then after that, then you go through all of the verses of request to the lamas of the stages of the path of the profound stages of the path, and so. The profound stage of path. Well, so I'm, as I mentioned the other day, when you look at the perfection of wisdom, at the because the shishing doesn't and the gaselam given, but no, yes, no. Specifically, amongst the different perfection of wisdom sutras, the Heart Sutra, I mentioned, if you remember, that it contains an explanation of the hidden meaning. Its hidden meaning is all of the stages of the path of the extensive side, the vast stage of the path, and then the explicit meaning being emptiness. That means we're talking about the stages of the path of the profound side. So Nagarjuna, the Abhisamalamkara is the text which mainly comments on and explains the vast subject matter of the perfection of wisdom, and so then the Mula Madhyamaka Karaka is the text which explains the profound stage of the path. So since in Jeremche's stages of the path request verses, first of all he talks about he composes the request for the vast side. So that's why the first verse of the Abhisamara is and then because after that he had the lineage gurus of the request of the lineage gurus of the vast the extent profound lineage. For that reason, Karaka's first verse. So I think that it would be good for us to do our recitation like that from tomorrow, and in that way, besides any other benefits, there will be the benefit that whenever you go to Dharamsala to hear His Holiness teaching, or if you go to Bodh Gaya or wherever it might be, then you'll be familiar with that practice. No. No. So we're going to be doing, first of all, the expression of worship from Lord Maitreya's Abhisamalamkara, right? And then after the Mula Madhyamaka Karika's verse. Convoluted. That which through the knower. Oh, okay. That which through the knower of all leads hearers seeking pacification to peace. That which through the knower of the paths causes those benefiting migrating beings to achieve the aims of the world. And through the perfect possession of which the subduers teach those varieties having all aspects. To the mothers of the Buddhas as well as the host of hearers and bodhisattvas I pay homage. He who taught dependent origination, no cessation, no annihilation and no permanence, no coming and no going, neither different nor same, this thorough calming of conceptual elaborations, to you who is supreme speaker, among fully enlightened Buddhas, I pay homage. Trang Re Rab Lin Ji Nien De Gen Pa Te Sang Ge Jing Do Mi Te Wa Yi Tra Ge Nam Da Jing La Ba Shoin Je Sun Lama Dam Ba Ki Nam Ki Chö Ge Ka La Kien Zi Ti Zin Ti Je Tara Zambi De Je Zi Ma La Sava Gi Je Gi Chara Ba Hava Tu Se Idam Guru Rana Mandala Kami Dayami
Sanje da
Sogyam La
janjo
Janjo
japsu je da ge jen so gebe
Sonangi Trola Penji Sangi
sangen
Robara
ro shu
Sho
sange
Jedan Zogi Janam La Janju Padu Tan Gyazu Jin Dagi Jinso Gibi Sonangi Trola Penji Sangi Robara Sho
sange dagi jinso gebe tsonangi rola penje sanje robara shu kangi duzenye suna dawa tamje pampe jir tampe chune dunze we kodam dela cha 다 간데를 질라고 있나 간데 짓는 거죠 야다 어느 건도 주시 최대 단데디 조지 반대 아디샤기 숨 상계 줘다 저기 촌놈라 청주 버도 다니 접수체 다기 진소 geb에 촌 로라 벤지 상계 루버 쇼스네 다는 거란 저래 지금 된대 지도왔어 다티 양 치디 누가 좀 쉬우지 레도왔어
Now, to start this evening, I want to talk first about the verse which we've actually just been reciting. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the assembly by the collections of, almost the same collection of from giving and so forth. May I become Buddha in order to benefit all migrating beings, which is a verse that was composed by the Jhado, the great Lord and glorious Atisha. And this is a verse which is really quite powerful if you think about the meaning.
디 저제 디 바 삼노치 담바이나 겸조도 semge도 tam 무스치 하코야 버데 겹슨 로스타들라 야 아니 마란서기 지 직den치마 승인지 켈레네 아니 니아손도 메동야스 먼저 하다미 공방지 토베하고 돈달라 겹슨 로지야 예초그래 티키우 중우던데 겸도 임바래 다 내기 겹슨 루수디 지고 계제 멤버래 이니 줄루 현달라야 니아손라 메동야 지다 타르밤 코란순 되베 타르밤 당원도 어딘데지 돈딩예베 토네 직된 거버볼 접순로와 여초그래 다 되네 투모마임비 아니 접순로수 투모마임바지 셰윤두 아니 코와치 제라기 둥엔 딜레 마세기 파르두 땡두 대와 예메데바치 다 대레 줘야지 돈달라 다 접수두이 슬랍인두 니뉴 디나냐 수용지 레데도와스
니중. Now, the subject matter, which is contained in this verse, then very clearly it talks about refuge, and it also talks about what we call mind generation or bodhicitta. And as far as the refuge is concerned, going for refuge, well, if you accept future lives on the basis of accepting, you would, we can go for refuge in order to avoid being born in the unfortunate realms, and in order to be born as a human being or as a god in one's next life. And this would be the way of going for refuge of a person of small capacity or small capability. And that way of to Buddhists, in fact, there are people who are not Buddhists who have their idea about liberation and so on, and so they refuge to their to the one that they considered, their god, the one that they consider to be the creator, and so forth. They go for refuge to such a being in order to avoid being born in order to be born as a human being or as a god in their next life, or to achieve what they consider to be liberation. So that in itself then, going for refuge in order to be free of the lower realms and to be born as a human, that's not unique to Buddhists. What is unique to Buddhism is the going for refuge in order to be able to be completely free of all cyclic existence, to achieve lasting happiness.
지다 장주 봐도 다니 겹수치 사야기 장주 사야들라 민두이 장주위 요래 랑게 장주위 요래 안 티젠 산제기 장주위 요래 이나야 아니 달래 값수 바베기 장주 봐도 사야디 탐에 살제 돌라 펜지 산제 루버 쇼 사야기 딘데기 산제기 타니지 대 슈구디 여바 디 규첸을 자는 야셰인도 semje tamje ki tondo lame zobe sanje ki changju mato ki padu japsu rumayim di chagres ta rangding du khoachi da cheta ki dungye gogudu sambe nginjung ti samnu khochu ti kapha loje shenta ti ki de ngone ta dewan devani chibu chi ya resha dungye me devani chibu chi ya resha re dude deve dubdante mashimche deva dubdante mashimche deve pong ane mindu bate dungere de dungi zoya me devate dunge kanglin jumi gyudi pongda mashimba tinde chigi nizu resha sambe tone ane ji semchen zamla mibi nyingje and churl me be ninja, me and tongue gone, and Teta doing good the jabal church, dark job sangi you combat do somebody, and drag up stop gen jamdruchi, duas, the in the capsche sati, alengalia, and capsum to tang, see the chivichian ready, give chung the jamdrus nets a country. Give dindan jamdru nets some tanda country. Pabe, and teaching to moment became to the country sango you, or the Yabu Casa, Jikan, and Gombosha, Gombokoya, the catch which red was.
Junior Junior
Chui Yerma, washing wave.
Palap.
G less no yanjo chili, G less no yanjo chili, Zoya Yomar.
So then, in the first couple of lines of this refuge verse, it says, "I go for refuge until I'm enlightened." So Jangjup, anyway, awakening or enlightenment. So actually, this word Jangjup or enlightenment, actually there, in general, there are three levels of enlightenment. There's the enlightenment of the hearer, the enlightenment of the soul, and the Mahayana enlightenment, which is peerless Buddhahood. So now here, though, in the what comes up towards the end of the verse, actually the last line where it's sort of benefit all migrating beings, from that the enlightenment that is mentioned earlier on in the verse is talking about the Mahayana enlightenment. So in other words, the peerless enlightenment. Now, when you take that renunciation, which is an insight in direct that understanding to understanding. In other words, you think about their suffering and you think how actually all other sentient beings are exactly the same as myself. They all want happiness and they don't want suffering. Even though they only want happiness, they really don't know how to create the causes of happiness. And even though they don't want suffering, they're continually experiencing suffering one after another, just like the waves coming in from the ocean, just one wave after another. One wave comes, then another one, then another one. So suffering and then suffering, one suffering finishes, another starts, and so on, just like continuously. And so motivated by compassion for them. And when we talk about compassion, there are three types of compassion. There's the compassion, technically anyway, what they're referred to is the compassion referring to the sentient beings. Then the compassion referring to observing. Then the non-objectifying compassion, three levels of compassion. So driven by and motivated by those three types of compassion with which you are determined to liberate the sentient beings from all of their suffering along with its causes, then you make the determination to achieve enlightenment in order to be able to do that, to achieve full Buddhahood. So in this one verse, then, it contains the whole of the subject matter of it contains the everything about the way of going for refuge in the context of a person of small capability, the way of going for refuge for a person of middling capability, and likewise great capability. And being able to understand this and reflect on this is really something quite important.
Re Tanda Yunde Shigyo Magi Tiwo de Dinezuti di Yonga Chirba, and ti tamshe tandan cheshan riksar ba to ko joja dal den dande joja didar den shushan riksar resang do ta on kyablu kyabtan khandes kyabgres la yindi miki chubung chujungi langdurgi ne tilatene nyason le kyab lende langdur labe gone nyason gi dunga le kyab ane dadu zimbe dangzingi ta nyembo mintuncho dame tobe sherab ti kombar chabala tene ta dinshi langdur gi nyamne tilatene ane koa le kyab rani koa le to ta ti gandali ya chi tuni tobe lo tetsam shigi shije driba chashitawa pontuya me debji pontuya nuba me debji tinde chigla ane kola ya gyabten tumu mayimba chambada nyingje zawri kyubi chanjugu sengi chi gyabten tumu mayimba chi tabgi nyamne shendamen rwa chi gogu yobche tinde chigi tabshi nyigi sungri chi chungba ina kowe nyebali choba zamdo mase shije shebe dribaya chashitawa tada pangni lame zobe sanje ki kumpang sengi chi ya top tuya yobachi dim nyigi chingwa le choyane tinde che yindu 다 다니 겹수체 세기 겹순 루이 세기 겹순 러베컬 겹루 겹단티 남규 숭셰나리아 용데반나시 산제 생인데 람된 나니기 기겐레스 다 기겐기 람된 치르바 근데 인자 겹던 바버레스 다 뭐네 겹냐티 추레스 아니 긴두 건조스인데 미베당겐지 따사치레스 제아티 다 뭐네 고주도 왔어
Konata tamputi ane lamdun.
Sanje kunjo sangite lamdun gigen res.
Now, so we can bring this round to the text that I'm explaining during these few days, and in fact, of course, anyway, they're totally related, as you can see. So. How they're related is like this. By, for example, practicing adoption and avoidance with regard to the 10 non-virtues, when you practice that properly, then you will be free of that will protect you from the suffering of the lower realms. Then when on top of that, you practice the wisdom, realizing emptiness, which is the direct opposite to the self-grasping mind, which is the root of all of our suffering, then through that you'll be able to achieve your own personal liberation. Now that wisdom, even though it can confer liberation, it brings you to liberation, in other words, just that kind of wisdom, the wisdom realizing selflessness alone, wouldn't be able to eliminate what we call the knowledge obscurations, the subtle obscurations in the mind which prevent one from achieving Buddhahood. What you need, as well as that wisdom realizing emptiness, combined with that wisdom realizing emptiness, is bodhicitta, which is rooted in loving kindness and compassion. So when you have those two, then that wisdom and combined with bodhicitta, then you have a combination or a union of method and wisdom. And through that combination of method and wisdom, you'll be able to achieve not just liberation, but peerless enlightenment, Buddhahood itself, in other words, which is a state free of both kinds of obscurations, not just the knowledge obscurations, which mainly prevent you from achieving enlightenment, but the afflictive obscurations. So when we say in this verse, "I go for refuge," to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So how is it that we go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha? So we go for refuge to the Buddha within viewing the Buddha as the one that shows you the path. And so that's connected with the with what it says here in this first verse. Then we go for refuge to the Dharma with the understanding that it's the Dharma which is the actual refuge. And then we go for refuge to the Sangha within understanding them, or with the attitude that they're like the ones that we look to see how to practice. It's like they're our role models in our practice of the path.
다 겸로도 된대 임발 직샤 차샤 다 되네 다기 진소 집에 초는 게 rol라 벤지 산제 루브 쇼사데 다 셈게 때문에 봤어 된대 인도 셈제 탐제기 돈도 다기 조브 산제기 공판 토버 차사지 다 된대지 셈게 눈반인데 신든 되냐 신든 닝제 군나라는 셈제 탐제스 동해 규다 제발 잡아도 직제 아니 장주 되냐기 돈바 다기 조브 산제 dimni malu patang trashing ta che tamje in musumdu kentuagi soni yonsube tindegi chusugu chugu tamba sugu tamba tindeji tang chegudu samagi tindeji tomdigi lotela semge sigiya imare ta tindegi semge tila sem sambu kezama imba ti tondala and sonamgi choda ishigi chola labgu yezang jimbas jinsos da jimbati mingos mene and parjing lamati de soguna ya shani da jinso jibe chonamgi and dollar benj sanjen ru shows the same getting ya imare.
So the way that verse contains the practice of refuge is like that, and then the last two lines it says by the this is the one that we were reciting is in our text it's adapted to taking teachings. Usually we say dagi jinsok jibis and sonamki. Through my collections of practicing generosity and so forth, may I achieve Buddhahood for the sake of all the transmigratory beings. So this contains the practice of mind generation, semki, in other words, bodhicitta. So the mind of bodhicitta is one that thinks, I must achieve peerless enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. It's a mind which has two aspirations. There's one aspiration which is for the welfare of others, which precedes it. So this refers to like great compassion, which is the mind which focuses on all living beings and wants to liberate them from that suffering. And then the other aspiration comes along with it, and it's the aspiration for to achieve the two holy bodies of the Buddha, the form body or Rupakaya, Sugu, and the truth body, the Dharmakaya, that wants to achieve those two in order to be able to free sentient beings, in order to benefit sentient beings. Because of the fact that just generating that mind is not enough, in other words, just wanting to achieve Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings is not enough. You have to create the causes, which means you have to create the two causes, which are the two collections, the collection of merit and the collection of exalted wisdom. So you need to build up those collections, and the way that you do that is by practicing the six perfections. The six perfections are the perfections of generosity and so forth. And generosity is the one which is actually mentioned here, but the other perfections are implied.
Tako tandu shipsar du stambaina semke sang shendu tonyeng dumbe ta chanju tonyeng dumba ninde ji goguyana shendu gi tonyeng dumba semsen tamje dunghe gyuda chabal tawa dagi cha sag lot kedang khandis kigres ani ba tabrobji kedang tabshe yindu gyonde menga dungi gone lo jongsu dakshi nyamje gone lo jungsu singe tiki tsangma rogo gudu modo tinde yungo no maso ajil ke yoaje mendu was tinde indu ti tsigdi gyachambu shiburedo was.
Now, if we wanted to go into this in more detail, in other words, if you start reflecting on this and you start going more deeply into it, then when we start thinking about bodhicitta, and we think about how bodhicitta is a mind that has these two aspirations. So you've got the aspiration for the welfare of others, and so that involves generating great compassion. And so then as for how you generate compassion, that has to come up in the mind, doesn't it? If you want to generate great compassion, how do you do that? And so that brings in the two different ways of generating bodhicitta, which are the seven cause and effect instruction, sevenfold cause and effect instruction, and equalizing and exchanging self and others. So you can see, if you really start thinking about this one verse, 4-line verse, and you start going into it, then it's really extremely vast.
Tatine Jamguru Mujiki Sungshe Yanaya Nala, Tinde Sanje Chozo, Sholoka Tinala, Dagi Sag, Tsini Tunguduans, Dani Kapsuche Sachi, Dagi Jinso Jibe Sachi, Tindegi Dati, Tako Musu, Nga Sachi, Ta Nye Sachi, Yungorota, Nye Sachi, Nga Japsui, Nye Jimbatangi Sachi, Nye Jasi Job Login Sachi, Ta Nye Sati. 동관이기 따외 토리야 삼노시 땅바이나 타니에 잠도 예대버지 다시 제베 채나 아니 차실 때니 니야메딩이지 벤 다 룽아 이숭이 차셰 근데 지금 안에 니야메데바 다 가때 여라 여바이나 다 이기 강리 다 여접지 다 차도롭지 nga 티제 테두 사지기 nga saadi yigi gana yodeba. Tapena rangyuwa menchegi enu leveling denje soba tuzu karisungu yarasana koyo cha yigi nambar shebala dagi dangosu dode yansiba kiawa lembichir da ino osne tsinshi yigi namshede ta da re sungda chigi. Ta rangyuwa menchegi ene pongpo nga chara da yin sanu tsinshi yigi namshede da yin sanu kunshi namshede da yin sanu tinde chigi ta da ngunzin tinde chigi chedaya chigi. Ta yinaya 반대 탄규바 이다 따왔는 신 체베이나 이긴 남식이 되네 아니더 짜와니네 매대버지레스 곧 덴버 땡냐르다 띵가란 속이 도나 맞에는 맞아 도나 체베이나 람사 하고 돼야지래 간데스 체나스 데버싱이 되네 가차르바스 다 요마르바스 무스 요마르바스 곧 차르바스 마웅바생이 되네 용유를 봤을 때 데모다냐로 하다 단달래 단동문에 예브지 말스 콜립규레스 다 다다와스 예란 예바데 다다와드래 다 다다와지 예베이나 다다와기 녜남시에 생긴디 다 세비나 추즈 karma karche 양제 두 세비나 아니 다다와 디레스 죽죽토야면 녜지 다 매인데 가때 다다와 싸니는 매베이나 내가 다다할 때는 샤브를 마음바 다다할 때는 샤다 두숨민도 사지래 다때 양성부 샤브래 다 근데 인데 세네니야 메타지지 인다지 이나야 그 균나 때네 촉점나 때네 따점기 자제 남샤 예대버지 어다 두스래 근데 인데 다기 셰베 근데기 다 칭이부터 덤벼qab라 다 생긴대야 때네 따점 둘을 때네 따점 샤실 때네 따점 근데지기 또 초발 때네 따점 근데지마도 랑원에 좀 중세게 녀바 민두 세인데 딘주기전의 제베 동반이 따와지 디나는 순고도 왔어 근데 인도 다기 진소기베 초남기 디나는 소남기 초양창 이시기 초양창 어떻게 말했어
something that His Holiness the Dalai Lama also says repeatedly is that in this prayer, you can see, let's see if it comes out in English, because the word dag, I or self, it comes up twice. So Sangye Jhana, Sangye Jhana, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. I think we've got more I's in the English. Sangye Jhana, Sangye Jhana, Janju Padu, Dani Kazuji, Ijikela the Dani Lekta. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha and the Supreme Assembly. By the collections from listening, you can even say my collections, by the collections from listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all migrating beings. So he's only got two selves in the Tibetan, but you've got three in the English. But anyway, the thing is that, here it comes up two or three times, and uh, although, like explicitly, what it's talking about, what it's saying, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, may I become Buddha, and so forth. If you think about it, I mean, if you don't really think about it, then this wouldn't be clear. But if you start thinking about it, it's quite clear, really, that although conventionally we do exist, there is an I that exists, but when you start looking for it, you can't find it. Like, for example, if you look for that I in your body, speech, and mind, you won't be able to find it. So of the three, the body, speech, and mind, if it's going to be found anywhere, then it's more likely that you're going to find it in the mind. And so, according to um, the Swatantrika, the Madhyamaka Swatantrika system, like, for example, according to the great master, Swatantrika master,
Bawa Vikarbe, Bawa Vikarwa, Lobeling Denje.
yeah, Legdinje, so the Bhava Viveka. In his teachings, he says very clearly that that where you find the I is in the mental consciousness, and specifically what he says is what you would point out, what would be called, literally, we use the word example or illustration of the person, where you can actually point out and say, this is, when we say I, this is what it is. He would say that what you would point at is the mental consciousness, not just the consciousness in general, but the mental consciousness. And there are other, within Buddhism, we have different philosophical systems with different ideas about what the nature of reality is. And so some of them would say that what you can point out as being that I is the five aggregates, the five psychophysical aggregates. There are some that would say is the foundation consciousness, the alive jnana. But according to the glorious Prasangika system, you can't even find that I in the mental consciousness. So if we think about it, it actually starts to become quite clear. Because, like, for example, so if you think of mental consciousness, so you've got the past mental consciousness, so that's not here anymore, that's already gone. Then there's the future mental consciousness, that's not here, that's yet to come. So you have to think about the present consciousness. And when you start thinking about the present consciousness, really, it really disappear, because if you think about, like, if you think now, you might be thinking about, like, today's consciousness. But if you home in even more precisely, then it'd be like the consciousness of this hour, because within today's consciousness, there's the previous hours that have gone, the future hours that haven't yet happened, so it'd have to be this hour. But then actually, even within that, you'd have to bring it down to this minute, because the previous minutes have gone, they're no longer there, future minutes are no longer there, and you keep going down to the seconds and split seconds and so on, and you just lose it. It's just not there. You can't find anything. There's nothing you can point out and say, this is this is what the I is, when you investigate in the mental consciousness. And so you can't find it, and yet it does exist. It exists depending upon that whole stream of moments of consciousness, or that whole continuity of moments of consciousness. It exists conventionally, It exists, and how it exists is depending upon the different moments of consciousness. So, in other words, you can understand it in terms of time. That so here we're talking about the mental consciousness itself, right? It exists depending upon its parts. It exists depending upon a collection. So when you go into the meaning of this verse in that way, when you really start going into it, then you can see that within this verse it contains not just the mention of the what do you call it, the collection of merits, such as in the case of the practice of generosity, but also the collection of wisdom, exalted wisdom.
Tati shologa tinala kamro tengedu lende gi namsha migi jugong tsudumla sobaya tinala ya tsu yungudu ninjung tsungudu tengudu o tatene dinshi namsha tinala sungudu tatene tinala ya ji chamda ninje zawri gi chanju sem tinande tsingos kora tengudu tatene shukdenla ya tongbani gi tawa tikidi sungudu tende yindi pejer 기부 친디 충승을 남기진 맨내 용조로기 여자지 디나야 레데버버지 야초 현다진네시나 니중 장주구섬 양답에 따와서인데 저저 용조 디나야 수대버지 값수 봐봐 단단한 저기 연대시규마 생기지 지다 기부승을 남기진 맨냠랭 내디도 상계 조전하냐 수대버서지 어떤데 레데도 왔어.
And so in this one verse, the Refuge and Bodhicitta verse, evidently it contains the practice of going for refuge. It also contains the idea of karma and its results, non-virtue and so forth, the practice of abandoning the non-virtues. It also includes renunciation. It contains the whole meaning of the Four Noble Truths. Likewise, it contains the bodhicitta, which is rooted in loving kindness and compassion. So that's mentioned very explicitly, and on an implicit way, in an implicit way, the wisdom, understanding, emptiness is also contained there. And in fact, we can say that really this verse contains everything, all of the practices of the persons of the three different levels of capability. And from another point of view, it includes all of the renunciation, bodhicitta, the wisdom realizing emptiness, the three principal aspects of the path. Another way of looking at it, another way of putting that is that this one verse actually contains all of the meaning of the text that we're looking at here, the foundation of all qualities.
Tatande di ngaranzu lobsendi tandani yende shiguma ta yende shiguma sa tanga zu pizi chire chilla pungshu na sa ji tanya da yore chilla pungshu sa ji ta gyachin juju samutayu ki ta ji sanje ne mas chebe ene ngugyu gi lama tige dilya mas damga gi chilab gi gyuba khanda khaya bati pe chojik du pungje ene yede ba jigida do dribu chigli yimbe chane chilab pungshu se tanye te tagi sare sangdo chilab sang ya su pung shabar ji dos te dos ya pung chojik du ya pung shabar ji 어때 chilab pungshu se yin ti nar gibu sumgi lamgirimbe joja chazanji yungudu wa ta ya kol ya ene tinde ina lamrin didendi the German lamrin nyamgu saji yorwa te chigwarwa ene sna ene to tonda joja de pejin double rede ina ya goba mixe tumon tum maimba tinde ya yoimbare penna cha shaba ina yenden shigum matabuti ene joba chil labsu she yindu sem gen gyasegi joba labsu she yindu chudum namba sumla dune ene gyasegi joba labsu sungre 퍼진 투 찌르잔 순금하래 텐데기야 맹아 투모 모임바 텐데 토네 아니 야 예대바 인자 거라 연대 시규마 세야들 믹스에 캐주지야 이 말에
진압 풍수세 때 진압기 풍부 쉬워 그래
레다 질럽 좀 초지도 뿡바 초지도 뿡바 뿡슈세지 드니지도다 슈세드 컨더지나 간시
네. So
단도
this
뿡사들 더우바시 뿡생이 지여 사바다바시 뿡생이 지여 들이 지들이야 딱 근데 이게 다잘 따냐 있는 지디야 등이 제시미라 민다 자요
그래
레
근데 풍부다 버지
레
네. So this this particular teaching, which is known as the foundation of all good qualities, Yondaji Gyuma, it's also referred to as something like, anyway, in the Tibetan it says Jinap Pungshu, so Jinap Pungshu. So it kind of contains the idea of like a whole heap or mass of blessings, because
디 다 맹하기 질럽 용수 줘봐 데 초치도 뿡버럽지
so
상게 좀 되는 마체제
no. Yeah, so it's referred to in that way, like a heap or a mass of blessings, because it contains all of the blessings of all of the lineage gurus of both sides, the Gyatso Chugyu, so like the lineage lamas of the vast or extensive practices, and then also the lineage gurus of the profound view. So because it contains all of their blessings, so therefore it's referred to as like a massive blessings, Jinapungshu. And so there is another short stage of path teaching by Rinpoche, Lama Tsongkhapa, the Lama Nyamgur. So that's like the stage of the path, which is like a song of experience or hymn of experience. And the subject matter is very similar, but nevertheless there are particular like special features of this foundation of all qualities, which sets it apart from the song of experience. Like, for example, the way it expresses the bodhisattva practices. So instead of going through the bodhisattva practices, the six perfections, one by one, generosity and so forth, like in the song of experience, it describes them in terms of the bodhisattva practice in terms of the three moralities. So like all of the Buddhas, the bodhisattvas practices are contained in the three types of morality. So that's one like special sort of like I don't know what you call it, quintessential instruction, which is contained in the this what you call it, the foundation of all qualities.
오 따단데 상계 조조 소로 된데기 내주 람지 로단티기 상마지 수수 규여로지 충분이나 딱 가장기 단단히 질러봉슈기 연대군지 시규 천전지 수시담을 자와로 사기 신인 대주 거디 마셰인도 텔레시 단도 전부 용대지래도 왔어 딱 연대군지 시규 천전지에서인데 연대에서야돼 연대는야 선디기 세제 연대 요래 말한서 진짜 당보 진짜니바 진짜 중니바세 어떤지 세디기 세제 연대 요래 딱 대점 그게 좀 말해 나면 지지 랑도르기네 나바 탐제 캠베 콤바르버 제베 딱지 연대지 장국이나 디 시다 텐드 큐바디 아니 기겐드레 사지기 간 레인드 틴데 기겐들라 아니 디텐투야기 연대 가르가르 참고래 세인드 지단에 누아니 셰베 아니 주름 대신 너의 초가시 네버링인서 콘네 타바다 최다 선생 펜도라죠 두순 넘바든 라마가 사지기 배디 예주 domtu야지 여대봐 코란이야 예주 dom돼야지 여대봐 애는 지 저와기 저의 상황 상황 가서 지다 상황도 송대지 내가 닝제사지 저의 상황이 여대지 애는 최다 상승기 판도를 전대봐 다 저의 상황도 오다 딘데지기 다 지 수수 강장고야기 인데디기 디 예다 강사티 규리야 이대지기 라바숨 칸데지기 연된 카레이나 드니지기 여대지기 오다 딘데지기 다 신년디 고그레 세인드 타기기 지 기부숨 람고 거로 상계 조선을 레셰잡아 대점식 내주지 다 유지 중간이나 신년 대더보다 내마지라 딱 뭐네 자네기 연대 군기 시규 전제 제사지 다 땡땡 다 창발라 근데 연대다 담아지 고도와 삼아르지 다파 펜토로 추 펜토로 그 신이 등수 지고서 기겐 지고 깨자면 기겐 되게 세단다 뭐 야부지 용할 중호 오만이 셰샤베 연대 되게 삼을 녀리야 아니 지 된다만데 따고야 땡저 기회 신이 친이 땡저 로메 신이 승인 기회 신이 친이 간다면 두서 다 시작해지 모르대도 와 근데 인자 아니 가담 고마가시기 아니 람림 마 티베 갑라 딘싱에라 송네 아니 람림 티베루 땡디라 주니 녜라 송네 람림 티베루 아니 릭녜라 송네 람림 티베루 근데 요레스네 두서 내가 근데 이 말이야
Now, yeah, so in this, yeah, that's okay. In this first verse, actually the very beginning, it says Yundin Gugishigu, the foundation of all good qualities. So anyway, Yundin means qualities. Actually, it also, depending upon the context, it can mean knowledge. So here it looks like it means more like to do with knowledge, because of course, when we talk about knowledge, it can refer to the knowledge that a teacher needs to have in order to, guide the children, the pupils through different classes. The what do you call it? First grade, second grade. What is it? Is that the order? First grade comes first. I don't know. It's not the other way around. You don't go from 10 down to 1. Okay, so that kind of, so that the knowledge, so that in that case, the teacher needs to have the knowledge of the things that the student, those children need to learn. But it's not just that here, of course. It does have the idea that in this verse you do have the idea that you need to depend upon a teacher that knows what it is that you want to learn. And so actually then this is really quite a big subject in itself. So for example, in the Vinaya, there's a very detailed description of the kind of qualities that a Vinaya teacher should have, the kind of knowledge they need to have. They need to be somebody who is able to refrain from negative actions. They need to be so it's under the controlled by affection for others, or compassion towards others. So ruled by that kind of thing. The whole being and mind is governed by that. And so in short, according to the Vinaya, the discipline, the teacher in that context needs to have the qualities and knowledge that you yourself want to train in and want to gain. And so in this case, if we when we look at this first verse, just saying the foundation of all qualities is the kind perfect guru, just saying that is not enough. You need to know what the qualities are that they need to have, the qualities and knowledge that they need to have. And so one way of looking at it is that they need to have the qualities that are described and the understanding of the things which are described in this refuge verse. All those things that come up in that verse about refuge and bodhicitta. And so in another way of looking at it, the qualities and the knowledge they need to have is the knowledge of and the qualities that are expressed in the following verses. And so it's because of this that there are various traditions for teaching the stages of the path, text such as this. So, for example, there is a tradition of preceding the explanation of the stage of the path with teaching on the Four Noble Truths. There's another tradition where it's preceded by teaching on the 12 links of dependent origination. And there's also a tradition for, first of all, teaching about Buddha nature. So this, I think that, this really is quite an important point.
President Digmento ta 신이 된주 거디 지단이 신이 아니 신이 신이 신고야 되네 신이 마템베 님이 엔 템베 펜 된주 로베 님이 아니 되게 등에야 다네 아니 삼베 된주 저베 된주 신 고든데 인구도와 삼베 된주 되라 자와 대바장와 대바도 그바 같은지 무제수 되는 그바체야 다 되네 저베 된주 되라 냐바 상승부와 구드림도 제바 다 디나네 조조데 가시두버드레스 다 지즈밀라르베 숭디시라 냐모레 노르 상승부와 달라메 팔라메 그 주벤절스네 땅문에 타네 마지 최숭샤베기 저제 된데 소스 라렌 간네 니리니레기 지다 간체버티 다 쳐바 탐지기 쳐 어떤지 디 개침으로 되도와 어떤지 말다.
So I think more or less that'll do for this first verse, which is about the way to devote yourself to the spiritual friend, virtuous friend. Here, you would, if you go into it more, then you would need to know about the defining characteristics of a qualified spiritual friend. You would need to know about the drawback not devoting yourself, the benefits of devoting yourself to a spiritual friend, the drawbacks of devoting yourself, if you can put it this way, in like devoting yourself wrongly, in making mistakes, in other words, in the way that you devote yourself to the spiritual friend. Then on that basis, then you need to know how to devote yourself in terms of your attitude or thoughts, and in terms of your actions. So as far as devoting yourself in terms of your attitude is concerned, that comes down to two things: training in faith, which is the root of the root of everything, and then training in the attitude of respect, which comes about through thinking of the kindness of the Guru. Then when it comes down to the devoting yourself in terms through your actions, then there is like the making offerings, the offering service, and then there is the practicing what your Guru has taught, which is the main one. And in fact, in connection with this, what Milarepa says is very nice. He says that I have no wealth to offer to my Guru, but I have my practice. So he's talking about the idea that really the main thing is the main offering the supreme offering to your guru is the offering of practicing what he or she teaches as much as you can.
다 딘데지기 톨하스 다 잠기 자와 신인 템베 에네 칸지 때는 로치다 장승에들라 다베때는 닝불렘베 추구하다 sabject yung this subject so shira khe chim do jang golom zong ga chim the subject din zebra ba ta ten lo thang jang ya le ya su sim shu ji par go do sim shu ji par ya tha la and dan jo ge ten sing ti su ngo chi thwe su rang le ya dan da ye de be gi and ne dan ti ngo chi thwe go do ta we ten le ning bo le me chi ku was ta ko ta we ten le ning bo le me chi ku wa sing ti la ti 다른 조르 생긴지 최초게지 가면 연구도와 달 생긴지 명콤보다 미튼 초다 자베 차네 달 튼베 초다 덴베 차네 조르스 딱 미튼 초 쪼쳐와다 제스네 달 튼베 초 쪼쳐와다 기 상베 차네 조르스 달 조르스야 되기 드니지 식지 고고도와 근데 인도 단조기 최초게 다와 예다 저와 주스지 다 다와 예다 저와 주스인데 다른 조로 생긴 식디 찍치도 단조 밀루스는 찍 시기 알때 그 시자 찍 삼노다 이제 단조는 달스나 갈스가 조스나 갈스가 알았은 또제 삼단 단조기 최초게 지마 지신 상마 지금 강시나 병고 밥을 누르려야 상금인도 와 파버 토메 드네 마체제 가르스나 상게 지노스 전바 뒤최 때마 생기디 뭐 상금인도 와 레데 딘데지 두두직 참배 토네 공기 땡들이야 딱 뭐네 다네 딱 루바님 보천 딘데지 다 야가 빈도 뭐 무시부지 총벌에 그 강쟁이나 총벌에 어떻게 되는 거는 살람도 또 보이는데 녀버지래 딘데지 인도 나란다 부지 차샤 있나야 밀루 임바 잠시기 텐조 기타니 톱기 매봐 추주변 간견 쫓아와 타다들 튕견 쫓아와 타다 뭐였음 두둑고네 아니 창투야지 다 되게디 아니 유칸레지기 돈이 용그래 뭔딘데지기 간레지도 아니 유당고 빼 어떻게 더 삼담이나 뭐네 녜르덴데 자좀 쉬지래 샤사마지기 못해야지 땡내려 돼도 와
And then, although it's not explicitly mentioned here, according to the structure of the lam rim, or what we often call the outlines of the lam rim, as taught by Jeremiah Lama Tsongkhapa, what he says is, so first of all he talks about how to devote yourself to your guru, and then so that's the first point. So there are 2 points, in other words. That's the first point. The second point is devoting yourself to that guru. How do you train your mind? And so this is really very important. And then within that that second point, how to train one's mind when you're devoting yourself to the guru. First of all, it talks about persuading yourself or urging yourself to do something really meaningful with this precious human life, with the leisures and endowments. So this is something that you meditate on in order to develop a very strong, very fierce sense of courage and determination in the mind. And so when we talk about, precious human rebirth, the Tibetan word denel jor, so what we usually say, leisures and endowments. So anyway, the leisures, del, that refers to as being free of the situations which prevent one from practicing. So in other words, freedom from what you call adverse conditions. And then the jor, which we usually call endowments or richnesses, That's talking about having the supportive conditions for practice. And in fact, in fact, then we talk about the 18 leisures and endowments, 8 leisures and 10 endowments. So we talk about having this precious human rebirth with the 18 leisures endowments, the 8 leisures, 10 endowments. But actually, if you really start thinking about it, what are these leisures? What are these endowments? Actually, you have to you end up coming to the conclusion, you can't avoid coming to the conclusion that even Nagarjuna didn't have all 18 of these. Because amongst these 18, you have, like, for example, being in the world. Well, at the time of Nagarjuna, Buddha was not in the world. It's not just, it doesn't just mean to the world, but has come into the world and is actually there and is actually teaching. So even the great Indian masters such as Nagarjuna and many others, they didn't have all of those qualities, and yet they had the equivalent, and they were able to achieve a very high level of realization and accomplishment in their practices. And likewise, the great Tibetan masters, even though they didn't have all 18, they had the equivalent of having all of the 18, and through that they were able to achieve so much with their lives. And so, we relate this to ourselves, then we need to understand that it's not just being a human being is not enough. So it's not just that we're human beings. We have these leisures and endowments. We are free from so many adverse conditions which prevent us from practicing, and we have so many supportive conditions that make it possible for us to practice. And so we need, as far as that kind of precious human life with the leisures and endowments are concerned, we need to understand what the causes are for achieving such a life, the nature of that life, of such a life itself, and the examples for or the analogies for how difficult it is to achieve such a life. That kind of thing we need to understand and meditate on.
로아 리투 승인데 나라도 단다 미기 요 통하지 상상마지 통하지 잘라지 말바스 말에때 무슨 통하다 든류지조다 미지조지레스 다 든류지조 되게 내단 질 때비나 아니 밀리게 정보 하장 마와요 되버지기 엔다 지다 내제 교부지요 되버지 다 디체잖아 아니 미지조디 시라지기 다 소남 세우르베 지 벤조 세우르베 지 차젠 세우르베 되게 강기 차네냐 니기 차요 되버지 다 텔레야 건도 시제 마부지 삼당 위나 나도나 낭베 쳐버지 건 시에베나 밀류 터버티기 아니 지 닝비 내 첨부지 란다 셴다 지조다 강갈래야 팬데 루트야지기 누바지기 다 밀류래야 여대베지기 딘데기 밀류 닝비 된렌 투니기 잠블리 미창멜링게 어르베스나 딜렌 투고미도 왔어 다티 랭에다 하장 뉴뉴래도 왔어 가셰니 다 도고 잠지기 돈다래도 스메 뒤다도 하지 어도 저도 하지 다 디나네 카셰지기 지조를 심디 첨부 루트야 아니 수수기 디 닝비초 슈크첨부 지 주베연데 또바첨부 귤게 어떤데 용하지도 왔어 어떤데 지인데 다 고급티 다 단다 공부인데 버지다 아니 고급 성부여데 버티 아니 다 라와야 렌제 다 누바지 달랭 지 준토바지 고도 삼바지데 다 단종 무슨사도 저 데려봐다 단종 무슨 단조로 된체와 단절 녀가와 승지다 단절 된쳐와 사야다 녀가와 사야지다 엔 단절 뭐되기 지 상담고 있나 아니 미제 단단하나 그런지 지게려야 time is money cherve
No, let it.
tindichi lagdos ta ngonen tandetil time is precious rebe pressure rebe ta ngonen 닝부 yedebegi tujure saji tuju thola tangyo mar saji go tindichi ta inju 단절 사야지 samdan zoji dosredo wa
Now, in traditionally we talk about 6 different types of living being or transmigrating being, but of course we can't actually see all of them. But we can only see human beings and animals, can't we? But still, anyway, even if you just think about those two ones that you can see, animals and human beings. One thing is there are so many more animals than human beings. Keep in mind that animals includes like insects and fish and birds and all that. They're all included in that category. So many more of them than ourselves, and also the conditions of their lives is so much worse than ourselves. As human beings, in comparison, we are so fortunate. We're so well off. Now, according to the Buddhist way of thinking, as a human being, it's only as a human being you really you really do have the ability to be of extensive benefit to society and to your fellow human beings. Uh, Nevertheless, it's not all human beings that use their lives in that way. Some are obliged to use their time just for finding food and clothing and so forth. So, nevertheless, there are some who really do use their lives in a way that's very useful and beneficial for others. So, the point really of meditating on this topic, meditating on the precious human rebirth, meditating on the leisures and endowments, is to bring yourself to the conclusion I really must do something worthwhile with my life. So, meditating on this topic, precious human rebirth, involves meditating on 3 main points. The one is meditating on how, meditating on the amazing things that you're capable of doing with such a life. Meditating on the way in which such a life is very, very rare and difficult to come by, and then thinking about, reflecting on the nature of such a life, what it means to have such a life. So we have this expression in English, don't we? Time is money. So really, we need to kind of like adapt that and think time is precious. Meditating on the precious human rebirth brings you to the conclusion time is precious, and so because it's so precious, you don't want to waste time. So thinking time is precious, so therefore I mustn't waste it.
tinde inzan tande di chilabung shunala lenji nyebe tawe tensandi shindu nyeka tenchen she kyurne nyinsen kundu zutoma damchin nyimbo lemelo gyunche mebar kyabar chingi lobsne ko dinandi ya tsikdus ganga ne ndubu duwas tawe tensandi sidu tanjong yosung shindu nyeka sindu tanjong nyeka ene tenchen she kyusne tenchawa
So if you look at this verse, the second verse of the Mass of Blessings, it says, "Lenjinya betawa tenzan di." So understanding that the precious freedom of this rebirth is found only once. Then Shindunyaka Dunjin Shigyuni is greatly meaningful and it's difficult to find again. So that first line in the Tibetan, I think, is also the same in the English. Yeah, understanding the precious freedom of this rebirth is found only once. So this is talking about how this precious human rebirth, which has these the 8 leisures and so forth, it's something which is um, yeah, okay, so it's something that's so these leisures are found only once. So that's anyway, so the first line is talking about like the nature of these leisures and endowments. Shindunyeka is difficult to find again. That's talking about the second point I mentioned, thinking about how difficult it is to achieve such a life. And then Dunjie Yunyen is greatly meaningful. So that's talking about how the amazing things that you're able to do with such a life. Then it goes on to say, please bless me to generate the mind that unceasingly day and night takes its essence. So that's talking about like the final point I was making. Don't waste time.
다 신도 nye 가스 더 걸로 가단 가르레스 냥 디발레그르바스 다 딜이야 유고는 nye 가와 지 순거래 베이곤 다 베드베레 다 유고는 nye 가와 순윤도 간데지레스나 간 시칸다 간이나야 규징이 누 제발 때는 중국이나 다 유지가 라레기 요래 근데 인도 말한수 단조르세 밀루테야 최주베 땡기 지금 간전 조처와 될 튕전 조처와 산댕인디 유매발이 총 자와 있는 말에 다 유지 거래 근데 인도 남주 수야라 수준 넘버다 배 시수 진소 바로도 침버 두고 저제 뭐는 지마매베 참 자와를 때네 용거레스 디지 남주 디 간들라 아니 간주 루덴디 원두 루덴레 미다 하이 루덴스 원두 루덴 쓰기요래 원두 루덴기 아니 녀랭 유통모 많이 받대 가르샤그르스 수준을 셴바 요마레스네 숭기요래 근데 인도 수준 넘버 답이 시숭사 딱딱 디간 로고 하지래 근데 인도 아니 단도 준주기 시나 다기 저반 딘데네 밀류양 토미뉴 밀류 토벌 마주나 디바바시 겨와메 세 딘데 치지 용도와 다 단단가라는 야 톱데베 루덴디 매부 시우지르베스 매부 시우지르베스나 마르다스 가르스나 녜 삼노 키단다 녜 졸람딜라 지단딜라 때베 이나스 다기 쩌바 딘데니스 삼규 뇽모 시규 디바 딘데시 나리양 롱강기 슈기 여데냐 아니 디바 미게베 초라 뺑 추 투르도 로나 신지기 남감 슈슈 로데냐 로 게베 초라 베 베즈 첨부천이 안 로아 있느냐 종류 죽순 상화지 매데냐 딘데 지금 니즈질 삼바이나 양교 단점을 쓰는데 니야디 간데 이노 사지 뭐네 건시시지레 삼바지 다 용대지 땡데레도 왔어 준주 치나 미툴 때는 동해 초 첼도 준 친데냐가 몽바투스 니말로스 늘 때는 뭐네 단에 누바침부 삼로 레벨 누바침부 쉬우죠 알았어 안 동해 초기 래 조여토버 지금 그랬어 코알을 조여토버 지금 그랬어 근데도 양교 얘기를 했으나 되게 시험은 신기 나랑 저기 공식이 한번 들 때에나 뭐냐 공부를 했어 근데라야 준이 친데 냐가베스 근데 인자스 몽베 길로네 아니 근데 투주 톨라 마당바 아니 베제체스 몽바 투스니 말로스
And so it, like it says here, Shindunyeka, it's difficult to find again, difficult to find. So, well, the question comes up, well, in what way is it difficult to find? And to answer this, then we need to think in terms of the causes of such a life with the leisures and endowments, and also think how difficult it is to so thinking about how difficult it is to achieve from that point of view, the causes, and also in from the point certain analogies which give an idea of how difficult. And so just about everything depends upon cause and conditions, doesn't it? Everything around us depends upon cause and conditions. So something which depends upon cause and conditions, if the cause and conditions are not there, then it doesn't happen. So it's just like that with this precious human life. It's certainly not something that just happened just like that. It happened because we created this for it to happen. Uh, if we ask, well, what are the causes of such a life? Then normally the way it's explained in the stage of the path is that number one cause is uh, pure morality, which is like the foundation. Then the second one is that that practice of morality, the
진소 파루도
yeah, accompanied by the perfections of generosity and so forth. And then thirdly, those practices need to be combined with, or like, anyway, combined with, what do you remember? So stainless prayers. So as far as the morality is concerned, the first cause. So as human beings, like gods, then our kind of life is described as a birth or a life of, and a birth of high status can only be achieved because of morality, pure morality. So now this, so we begin to see how difficult it is to create the causes for such a life. And so it's just like the Shantideva says in the Bodhisattva Charivatara, there's one verse where he compares this life to an ocean-going vessel which can transport one across an ocean. And so he says that the boat or the vessel of this precious human life is not something that you just automatically get again and again and again. It's actually something very difficult to get. And so he says then, having found such a life, which is like a boat that can take you across the ocean of suffering of psychic existence and so forth, then he says, foolish one, don't fall asleep. In other words, don't waste your time. Don't fall asleep. So the thing is that we might think that there are. It's like this. There are plenty of lives like ours or that it's sort of like something that's always happening. We're always having this kind of life. So it's in a sense really plentiful, but actually it's not. It's really quite rare, and we can understand this by simply looking at ourselves. We can see that, as far as our mind is concerned, it's constantly filled with various destructive emotions, and in terms of our actions, we're constantly creating negative karma. As far as something really worthwhile and constructive is concerned, some kind of like virtuous mind or virtuous action, for it to be a true something truly virtuous, then at the beginning, in terms of like the lead up or the preparation, it needs to be that needs to be completely pure. That needs to so a virtuous action, you need to have the preparation and the motivation, that they have to be pure. Then the actual action itself has to be done well, and then the conclusion has to be also like pure and perfect. Otherwise, it's not really a virtue. So if we think about it in that way, then we can see that it's really not very easy for us to do something, and it's not very often that we do something virtuous. And so thinking this way, we begin to see really, this kind of opportunity we have at the moment with this precious human life is not something that we're going to just automatically get again and again and again.
다 틴데 지기 수수 단다랑리야 톱데베기 루텐디 배주 첨부 임바 누바 첨부 임바 근데디 모두 제버려 봤어 다 모두 제베 토라 다 누바 첨부디 딱 배주 가봤단 거래 세인도 아니 님부 간대질란 거랬어도 아니 가서라 원도 주야 니리 주야 아니 라나메고 컴파운드 주야다 근데기 지 취냐 어떤데 주야 요래 했네 엘렘베 추스는 어떤 기부슨 랑게를 받이 용바로 봤어
So this, when you have this kind of precious human life, it's so useful, it's so powerful. So now you have something which is so useful and so powerful. How are you going to use it? So here we talk about, taking the essence out of this life, doing something really worthwhile with this life. How do you do that? By using it to ensure that you have a birth of high status as a human being or as a god after this life. Using it for achieving the state of definite goodness, definite goodness, which means liberation from the whole of psychic existence and enlightenment. So using this precious human life means using it to achieve those goals.
다디기 심슈디 아지 빠르체 다 심슈디 빠지 당한테 루덴 상고 쉬우지 터바니 삼제네 딘데지기 닌 누바디 다 베디 누바던 데바지 딘데지기 댄 상고지 여 삼바디 엔 취취하기 야 가서 그래 취뉴르도 제하다 딘데기 야 누바니에서 때 가보르지 딘데 인도 야 콜이야 야 년대로 마두스탄지 챈들이 윤도 미네바 치와 제스템바스 다 닝도지야 개차비 제라 아니 치와 미다바 신지 트레인도 당에 취지 제나마도 규율을 못 해야지 계절에미도 와서야지 아니 미다바라바 기와도 치와 사야지 어떤 미다바라베니 주디 아니 삼바이나 아니 취제야 돼 취부다 보여야 돼야 아니 취제야 돼 뒤주 돌아만도야 지 최고 상전난전 아니야 이니 지 최천대 로지 여대바 지라 최 샤마지 미용야 돼 미다바 마테미 니미레 순거래 근데 인도 최부다고 지다 요한지라 미다바 텐사지 근데레 고샤나고 그게 말해
And so thinking this way, your mind becomes very full of courage and determination. You feel like, wow, now I've got this amazing precious human life. Then you need to think of something that will kind of like make sort of like, it's almost like you get excited by the idea that you have this precious human life. So you need to and something which kind of like brings a little bit of soberness to the mind. In other words, you need to think, yeah, I've got this precious human life, but it's not going to last for long. It's not going to last forever. It's not going to last long. It's going to be over eventually. In other words, you need to meditate on the fact that, meditate on what we call gross impermanence, and specifically, to meditate on the fact that you're going to die, and you could die at any moment. And so it's said that, what really makes sure that the Dharma you practice is pure is meditating on death. So that's the purpose of meditating on death. It's not just something that you do to scare yourself. That's not the point. You meditate on death in order to make sure that what you do, the practices that you do with this precious human life are pure.
나라랑의 냠뇽지를 차시하는지 더 배천 쉬베이나 아주 차전 산절 겹스죠 철 겹스죠 기들 겹스죠 겸도 등으로 봤어 겸도 삼단거 알아봤어 이나야 지 소라 그 직바지 총소나 갑티도 겸도데 겸도 숙차지 연구도 왔어 근데 남도 룽수도보다 틴데 털이야 쭈쭈 전부 따제 틴데 지용배 걸이야 겸도 숙차지 연구도 왔어 샘 딩네 지 이체다 샘 딩네 직발이 껴비 지 틴데 삼노치 코니 용도 왔어. 먼저 바 페버치 대대버깔라 초에 식디 된거 알때 거다 람다 룩스 소르치제 도스엔 너더만도 지금 샘 딩네 꾸자르지 영화 지금 민도 왔어. 어디 가르치네 마용아르기 따드 가르레서 라빈데 미다바 싱기 삼노티기 네주티 마코바기 견지 땡땡 임버레스 땡땡 인도 토마르 개쳐 바르도 개쳐 타마르 개쳐 규젠텔라 고네 상게 좀 된 데게야 당보야 미다바수 취 당보도 뉴제 탐제 미다바 사제 탐제 동나와스 당보 미다바수 임버레 다 되네 바르도 야네 양도 미다바수 타마 냥엘 데베깔로야 미다바수 어떤데지 제 탐지기 초 발랑기 제디 체레 두시 탐지기 초 미다바 곰바디스 미다바티도 삼노지기 네즈디 코로이나 되네 베디 릭소기 추기 냠내기 자와디기 상마 엠베데 난기 춘두용 그레스 아니 까담 기시지기 숭레 쇼게 미다베 고 네즈디 마코와 제지 추르지도 제비나 또 세디나를 쇼르레스 체디 세디나를 차스 다 닝구 잡을 야미다베 네즈디 삼노 마코와 제 양치지 제비나 양디 닝구 잡는 건다파드 세디나를 차르레스 근데 인자 까담 기시에 보도하기 얘기 낭세 미다발라 제베이스 낭세디 대 셰르고 나와 연댕이 나와 되게 셀세디 경기 차드파세야 연댕이 릭조고 차추 용야 경기 차세야 되게 정말로 미다바티네 연구요레스 미다바 템바티네 연구레스 얘기 낭세 미다발라 제베이스 누시 탐지기 초 곰자 망보지기 나네 뉴시 탐지기 초 미다보 곰바티스 제 탐지기 초 발랑 제들이 쓰네 어떤 숨겨래
발랑 제
뉴시 다 발랑스 라요래다
발랑
랑쟁 제 람nye 요래다 니 발랑 수디 노버 요체 그 도치 살이 주셔도 그 제세부치 띵거레스 랑쟁 대장이 세부스 개미동아 렙렙치 용동아 딱 아니 두식 망보찌기 나네 아니 견세바다 연등이 차지 공내 공도 패야 되게들 아니 미다보 공부도 역시 인수 어떤데지래
If I speak from experience, of course, I recite the words of going for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So we all do, isn't it? But now, when one's life is in danger, when you're in a very dangerous or scary situation, then the refuge becomes much stronger. Like, for example, when you're in a plane and there's a storm, and the plane is kind of like going up and down kind of thing, then it's really scary, isn't it? And then, your faith becomes stronger and the fear of dying and so on becomes stronger. And so because of that, your refuge becomes stronger. It really is clearly from the heart. Your refuge comes from the heart. Usually, we do it, but it's kind of like just out of going, well, you go for a refuge, but, it's more or less habitual, and it's quite difficult for it to come from the heart. And the reason for that is, what that's a sign of is not really thinking about death. And so, actually, the meditation on death is important at the beginning. It's also important at the middle, and it's also important at the end. So, actually, if you think about the Buddha's own teachings, the first thing he taught was about impermanence. He said that that all compounded phenomena are impermanent. Then when he in the middle, let's say, anyway, not right at the beginning, not at the end, in the middle, constantly he was teaching about impermanence. And then at the end, before entering into nirvana, then he gave an instruction, or he gave a teaching on impermanence, on death. And so there's a saying that the footprint of buffalo, buffalo. Some people say of an elephant, right? But I don't think it's an elephant, and because the buffalo's footprint, it's kind of like what do you call it? The hoof is really quite sort of, it's not like an elephant's huge thing, you know. It's like quite small. And it's sort of like really the weight really, it really makes quite an impression in the ground. Not like an elephant. The elephant's footprint or hoof print, or I don't know, paw print, it's kind of like so big, it's not so clear. So they say, you know, the what do you call it, the greatest, not exactly in certain times of terms of size. So like, because the choke choke. No. So the supreme amongst footprints is the footprint of the buffalo, and the supreme amongst recognitions is the recognition of death. So there is that. Yes, sorry, I said death. Actually, what it says is impermanence, the recognition of impermanence. So then there is one Kadampa Lama used to say. I mean, you've probably heard this, that if I don't think about mitaparwa, if I don't think about impermanence in the morning, then the whole day gets wasted. If I don't think about impermanence at noon, then the rest of the day is completely wasted. It's dharma. It's a way. Because of the reason being that because of not thinking about impermanence, then one becomes attached to the pleasures of this life. And in fact, also the great Kadampa Lama Geshe-Potoa, he said that all kind of the everything that, what do you call it, the illumination of his wisdom that he had developed was all due to meditating on impermanence, and all of his ability to eliminate various faults, you know, in his mind and so forth. This all came from meditating on impermanence.
Mm-hmm.
Illumination of his wisdom. It means, you know, when you have wisdom, it illuminates things, right? You have clarity. You can see things. So that all came from meditating on impermanence.
Oh, 단데디 남레자의 치지 연구도와 티칠 미다 레 둥에 레네 다메 숭승지 미다 둥가와레 다메와 단데디 상기 중된데 미다와 사제 담제 둥가와 최 담제 동시 다메와 냥에 렌다와 시와스 디다 남바산 예베기 다지 갈서그래 따웨 남샤 다 남바산 예베기 따웨 토네 투무마임바기 다 람긴 르ンド단치 콘데 로단치디 다 디토네 모두 능게 하러다 고와승인데 딘디지레 냥대승인데 딘디지레스네 모두 따웨 돈디 숭버러다 뉴제 탐제니 미다바레스 미다바 인사 기지 긴구 여바 인사 엔 사제 코베디 최디기디 다 유지하르디 인사 윤녀모발에 충벌했네 아니 레지 군주다 녀모부 군주디 체디 군주 덴바티 송 미다바사야디 동네 덴바티 송다 사제든지 동나오제 다 최담지 동시 다음에 봐서 디기 아니 오베 덴바다 람지 덴베기 남샤디기 디나리아 숭구유베 소시도와
주단 동시 다음에 봐.
양엘른다와 시와스. 근데 녀몬데 딱 매버 컨디션 차그랬을라나 모나자니 차그 말았어. 탑신 신다 가게요 말았어. 딜라 진당 무슨가베 로티야 공부도 제베이나 아니 녀몬데 트라베기 고바 탈바스긴데 다 터그레스. 디 지도 고된데 디 톱제트 가르스메와 무슨도 또벌 남기데마 신디 디 람된데 어떻게스니 다 디가기 지 데마시기 랑도르기 냠네 차상시디 도체 용디 다바레 둥아레 다메바사데 냥에는 데바 시와스
Dus dan zijn metapata en het kasada.
사제 탐제 둥
동양 세대의
두군이 둥 문제래 다 최담제 동시 다음에 봤는데 람된 수치체 냥엘 데바 시와스기 무슨 또벨람 공부할 때는 녀무 받아 지바 칸야로 드어발래 아니 시와드 토그레스 땐도 데와 토그레스
Now in the Brahmanavatika Makiti, there is a verse which states so therefore from impermanence, suffering, and then and then having so what he's saying is that having taught impermanence, then the teaching of suffering was given, and after the teaching of suffering, the teaching on selflessness. And in fact, we can see this in the teachings of the Buddha, because the Buddha taught that all contaminated phenomena are impermanent. Sorry, not all contaminated. All compounded phenomena are impermanent. All contaminated phenomena in the nature of suffering. Everything is empty and selfless, and then nirvana is peace. So those first two, where it says that, where the Buddha taught that all compounded phenomena are impermanent. So together with the next one, everything is in the nature of suffering. So this contains the teaching on the truth of the suffering and the truth of the origin. So the fact that everything is everything which is compounded from cause and conditions is impermanent. Everything which is compounded is impermanent. So everything arises through depending upon cause and conditions. Specifically, contaminated phenomena are those phenomena which arise through depending upon karma and the afflictive emotions, which refers to the truth of the origin of the Four Noble Truths, the truth of the origin. So everything which is contaminated because of being produced by the karma and mental afflictions is in the nature of suffering. So that's talking about the truth of suffering. So then, if you want to be free of that suffering, you need to be free of the cause. So in order to be free of the cause, it's not enough to pray to be free from them. You actually have to achieve the wisdom directly realizing selflessness, which is the direct opposite of the self-grasping mind, which is the root of all of the mental afflictions and all of the karma. And that's what's taught in the third of these four, which we normally call the four seals. Everything is empty and selfless. So all phenomena are empty and selfless. So meditating on that, you'll be able to achieve the truth of cessation, which is what's taught in the fourth of the four seals. All what do you call it? The nirvana is peace. So those last two are talking about the truth of the path, and then the truth of the cessation. And so in that, so it starts off with the idea of impermanence, and then everything sort of like unfolds from there. So we'll stop the teaching for today there. No. So there is time for a question, if anybody has a question. don't know, rush at once.
sarchikdu ya.
And yeah. Oh yes. No. The ninji sums yore sumbra. They call it this the girna.
Gyutsi shen tanda tatare. Yabu shibu chungsu. Tichir mita le dungens. Dungen le dame sungs. Ta dungen ki mita bagi nizu san. Semchen de git changmalo mita bagi kichi jibi ngangsu chenjire. Tim mato bo wangi ane nyomu be shawadu chinje. Ane mongje. Ta diba namba naso sa gyawali ya. Ane du matuba. Nyamlen choy matuba. Nyingje sambati. Semchen tsamla mibi nyingje sayatire. Ta dungen ki nabi naso te samne.
Actually, this is a really appropriate question because it totally connects to what I've just been talking about. So you remember Dhammakirti said that after from impermanence suffering or after impermanence suffering. So when you think about how the sentient beings are actually impermanent, but they don't realize they're impermanent, and because of that, then they constantly create the cause for suffering and are not free from suffering, and then you generate compassion towards them in that way. No, that would actually be the second kind of compassion, which is called in Tibetan chulami bin nyingje. So no, that literally means so the compassion observing phenomena. What that means is it's a kind of compassion which is like qualified by or accompanied by the understanding of impermanence. Qualified by impermanence. Compassion for the sentient beings qualified by impermanence.
That ne midabata tuzu kola reda mare sanomata mache dungen sumbo khaya ro mache ta dungen sumbo khaya ro na chutil samtanje ane tela mi be nyingji kesuna semjen samla mi be nyingje nibati
no so then there's the semjen samla mi be nyingje, the compassion observing the mere sentient beings. That's the sort of like the proper term for it. What it means is not thinking about the sentient beings being impermanent or anything, simply thinking about how they are experiencing any of the three sufferings, the suffering of change, the pervasive comparative suffering. Thinking about how they're suffering in that way and then generating compassion towards them, that would be the compassion which is called compassion observing the mere sentient beings.
Ta tichir midale dunge le ne dame sungse ta dame ti chö tamje rangshin ki chube tongba simjen de ta tamje rangwon de chube tongbe ne zu ti mashe go wangi ani nyomo be shangwa de chini ani nyomo be chingwa de chöma to ningre je sambe ani dame be khaba de chebe simjen me be ningje.
Then there's the third kind of dame me be so dame me be ningji ra
dame that dame khaba de chebe ningje.
And then there's the
mimel me be ningje.
No. Then there's the a third kind of compassion, which can be referred to as the compassion observing selflessness, or the non-objectifying compassion. What this means is you think how everything is in fact selfless, just like it says in the Pramanavartika, from teaching suffering, then teaching selflessness. So thinking about how everything is selfless, and then thinking how actually everything is selfless, but the sentient beings don't understand that. Because they don't understand that, their minds are completely under the control of the destructive emotions, and because of this, they're not able to break free of the chains of the chains of suffering. They're not able to cut through the bonds of suffering, bondage to suffering. And so, and then thinking how awful that is, how terrible that is. In other words, generating compassion for sentient beings in that way. That's what's referred to by this third kind of suffering, the non-objectifying. This third kind of compassion, non-objectifying compassion.
Tinde indu mida dunge tong dame sagi tindegi number sumbu tigi thone in ingje sum kedang tho tiba chimbe nyamlen jan tinde yungu duwas.
And actually, in this way, you can see how the teaching in the Four Noble Truths, the four characteristics of the truth of suffering: impermanent, suffering, empty, and selfless. Actually, these really are very relevant to and can be applied to the Mahayana practice.
Yeah, that is.
Okay, so we'll stop there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.